Moiravibes.
Story 3. A Second Chance. Jenny stepped into her new office building, taking a deep breath. She had worked hard to get here, but this job wasn't just about her career. It was also about facing her past. In high school, Jenny was the quiet girl nobody noticed unless they wanted to tease her. Her thick glasses, braces, and shyness made her an easy target. Zach, the popular boy, laughed at her all the time, which hurt just as much. Years later, Jenny had transformed herself. After high school, she decided enough was enough. She spent hours working out, improving her confidence, and even changing her style. When she landed this new job at a prestigious company, she couldn't believe her eyes. Her manager was Zach, the same Zach who had laughed at her in high school, and she was his assistant. Jenny's heart raced as she realized this was her chance for revenge. She smiled to herself. Let's see how he likes being embarrassed, she thought. At first, Jenny observed Zach. He was charming, confident, and respected by his team. People admired his leadership and calm attitude, which annoyed Jenny even more. Has he really changed, or is he still that same arrogant guy? She wondered. Jenny didn't want Zach to keep living his happy, perfect life. She wanted him to feel how hurt she was in the past. So, she came up with a new idea to embarrass him at work. One day, Jenny swapped his usual coffee cup with one that had a slightly loose lid, hoping for a spill when he had lunch with colleagues. As Zach took the cup of coffee and walked, the lid gave way, and coffee splashed all over Zach's white shirt. He froze for a moment, looking down at the mess. Jenny watched eagerly, expecting him to panic and rush off to clean up. Instead, Zach casually took off his blazer, rolled up his sleeves, and laughed. "Well, I guess I'm going for the casual coffee enthusiast look today," he said to his assistant, grabbing some tissues to dab his shirt. Later, Zach passed by her desk, holding the empty coffee cup. "You know," he said, grinning, "I should start checking stuff. Strange things keep happening around here." Jenny forced a smile, feeling both impressed and annoyed. "Must be bad luck," she replied, her cheeks slightly red. As he walked away, Zach chuckled. "Or maybe someone's messing with me." Another day, Jenny overheard Zach hating spicy food in a casual chat with colleagues. She decides to prank him by swapping his usual lunch order with something extremely spicy. During lunch, Zach takes a bite of his meal, and his face turns red immediately. Jenny smirks, waiting for him to panic. But instead of freaking out, Zach starts laughing. "Wow, this is spicy, but it's actually amazing," he says, fanning his face and taking another bite. His colleagues laugh and tease him about his bravery. One even says, "Zach, you should join a spicy food challenge." Jenny, who's watching from a distance, facepalms. "Seriously? How is he enjoying this?" she mutters. But the twist comes when Zach approaches her desk later with a grin. "Hey, Jenny, I think someone switched my lunch. Do you know who might have done it?" he asks playfully. Jenny freezes, unsure if he knows it was her. But Zach just winks and adds, "Whoever it was, tell them thanks. It made my day way more exciting." Jenny's plan to embarrass him backfires again, leaving her both annoyed and secretly amused. Jenny remembered that Zach wasn't a strong swimmer in high school. A mischievous grin spread across her face as she hatched her next prank. During the company's team building retreat at a resort, she made sure there would be a pool relay game, knowing Zach would have to participate. As the game started, Jenny accidentally bumped into Zach near the pool's edge. He tumbled into the water with a splash. Jenny chuckled, expecting him to panic. Instead, Zach surfaced calmly, treading water effortlessly. "Not bad for someone who isn't a strong swimmer, huh?" he said, smirking at her from the pool. Frustrated that her prank had failed yet again, Jenny tried to walk away, but Zach slipped on the wet tiles while climbing out, accidentally pulling Jenny into the water. The sudden plunge startled her, and the panic from her school days surged back. She started flailing before fainting in the pool. Zach's face turned serious. Without hesitation, he brought her to the surface and to the edge of the pool. "Jenny, wake up!" he called, gently shaking her. When she didn't respond, he leaned down and gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Jenny's eyes fluttered open after a few moments. She coughed, water dripping from her lips. As she regained consciousness, her confused gaze met Zach's concerned one. You kissed me?" she asked, weakly but incredulously. "It was first aid," Zach defended himself, though his cheeks were slightly red. "I thought you needed me." Jenny sat up, a mix of embarrassment and gratitude washing over her. Zach's voice softened. "Jenny, I know who you are. I've known for a while. I let you prank me because I deserved it. I wanted you to see that I've changed." Jenny's heart skipped a beat. Her mind raced through their shared history and the person Zach had become. Zach chuckled, his tension easing. "I think we're even now, but if you're planning any more pranks, at least warn me next time." After the incident, Jenny told herself it was time to let go of her revenge plans against Zach. She resolved to focus on her work, leaving the pranks behind. But fate had other ideas. 2 weeks later, the company prepared for a major presentation with a high-profile client. Zach, as always, was leading the pitch, and Jenny was assigned to assist him. She had spent days preparing the presentation slides, determined to impress both Zach and the clients. When the day arrived, Jenny connected the laptop to the projector and opened the file labeled Client Presentation. She stood beside Zach, confident everything would go smoothly. But as the first slide loaded, her heart stopped. There it was, an animated image of a dancing hot dog wearing sunglasses. The room froze in silence before erupting into laughter. Jenny's face burned with embarrassment. She remembered now. This was one of her pranks from weeks ago. She had swapped the real presentation file with a joke slide, intending to use it for Zach's downfall, but she had completely forgotten about it. Jenny was frozen, but Zach took control of the situation. Turning to the clients, he said, "Looks like we've added a little humor to start things off. Let's reset and dive into the real presentation." He smoothly transitioned, pulling up the correct slides from his own backup. He successfully handled the presentation. After the meeting, Jenny avoided Zach for the rest of the day, hoping he wouldn't mention the incident. But later that evening, as she sat at her desk, Zach approached her with 2 cups of coffee. "Jenny," he said with a teasing smile, "I appreciate the effort to break the ice with the dancing hot dog." "Creative touch," Jenny groaned, covering her face. "I'm so sorry. That was an old prank I forgot about. I swear I didn't mean for it to happen today." Zach chuckled and set a cup of coffee in front of her. "Relax. It actually worked out." The clients thought it was hilarious and said it made the meeting memorable. They even joked they'd be using it in their next office meme. Jenny peeked through her fingers, unsure if he was serious or just teasing her further. "You're not mad?" "Mad? Nah." He leaned against her desk, smirking. "But I have to admit, you've got quite the imagination. Maybe I should start screening all the files you touch, just in case." Jenny felt her cheeks heat up again. "I promise, no more pranks. I'm retiring from the revenge business." "Good to know," Zach said, raising his coffee cup in a mock toast. "But for the record, I've known about your little schemes for a while now." Jenny's eyes widened. "You knew?" Zach grinned. "Of course. The coffee spill, the pool incident, even the switched slide, none of it went unnoticed. But I figured I'd let you have your fun. Honestly, it made the workday a lot more interesting." Jenny blinked, speechless. "So, you weren't even mad this whole time?" "Nope," Zach said with a shrug. "But I'm glad you're done with the pranks. Now we can focus on being the best team in the company. Unless you're still planning something?" Jenny shook her head quickly. No more plans. I'm done." As Zach walked away, Jenny couldn't help but smile. Maybe it was time to let go of the past and focus on the future, not just for herself, but for her unexpected partnership with Zach. Suddenly, Jenny asked Zach, "Why did you keep making fun of me during high school?" Zach didn't say anything. His face turned red. Jenny would never know the truth behind that bullying.
Story 2. Finding light in the chaos. Ethan's alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m., another reminder of the life he didn't want. His apartment was a mess of work files and untouched notebooks filled with story ideas. Writing a novel had always been his dream, creating characters, weaving worlds. But his office job drained him. Endless meetings, long hours, and an aggressive boss left him too tired to work for his dream. Each night he promised himself, "Tomorrow, I'll start." But mornings came, and his dream felt further away, buried under spreadsheets and exhaustion. Still, deep down, the desire to write is waiting for a chance to break free. Across the city, Sophia rushed through the bustling streets to open the cafe. The rich scent of coffee and the hum of morning conversations brought her fleeting comfort, but the endless shifts drained her energy. After finishing serving customers, she scribbled sketches on napkins. She loved art and wanted to become a full-time artist, but she could not afford that dream. Her small apartment overflowed with unfinished canvases and rejection letters from galleries, each one a painful reminder of her struggles. The city's chaos often felt overwhelming, making her wonder if her art would ever reach anyone. Yet, despite the doubts, she kept creating, driven by a quiet, unshakable hope. It was one of those rainy evenings when Ethan's path crossed Sophia's for the first time. After staying late at work, Ethan found himself caught in a sudden downpour. His bus was delayed, and he ducked into the first open cafe he saw. The bell above the door jingled, and Sophia looked up from the counter. "Rough night?" she asked as he shook the rain from his coat. "Something like that," Ethan replied, ordering a coffee. Sophia handed him the steaming cup, noticing the tired look in his eyes. "You look like you need this more than anyone else." They exchanged a few more words before Ethan sat near the window watching the rain. There was something about the cafe that felt calm, a quiet contrast to the chaos outside. Sophia returned to cleaning tables but found herself glancing at him now and then. He seemed lost. He sat for a very long time, almost midnight. When the last bus finally arrived, both Ethan and Sophia ended up on it. The bus was nearly empty, the streets dark and wet from the rain. Sophia sat a few rows ahead, her head resting against the window. Ethan, feeling bold, moved closer. "Mind if I sit here?" he asked. She shook her head. "Go ahead." As the bus moved through the quiet city streets, Ethan and Sophia sat near the back, both lost in their own thoughts. The bus was nearly empty, the engine filling the silence. Neither of them had planned to strike up a conversation, but something about the stillness and their mutual exhaustion brought them together. Ethan broke the silence first. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and hesitant. Sophia nodded, letting out a small sigh. "Feels okay, but not okay at all. You?" Ethan managed to smile. "Feels like I'm running in circles. I work all day, but I'm not going anywhere." That simple statement opened the door to something deeper. Slowly, Ethan shared his frustrations. He talked about his draining job, his boss, and his long-lost dream of writing a novel. "I don't even know why I bother anymore," he admitted, staring at the rain streaking the bus window. Sophia listened closely. "I get that," she said. "I wanted to be an artist, still do. But between my job and the rejection letters, it feels like the world's telling me to give up." Ethan turned to look at her. "So, why don't you? Why not just stop?" Sophia hesitated, then shrugged. "Because even when I want to quit, the thought of creating something, just one thing that matters, keeps me going. But some days, it feels like I'm fooling myself." Ethan smiled faintly. "I guess we're both fools then. I keep thinking about my book, even though I haven't written much in years." The rain outside grew heavier, and the bus rolled on, nearly empty except for them. "Sometimes," Ethan said, his voice barely above a whisper. I wish this bus would just keep going. No stops, no responsibilities, just away. Sophia gave a bittersweet laugh. Yeah, but where would it go? Life doesn't work like that. Their laughter was soft, tinged with sadness, but the shared moment felt comforting. As the bus neared the last stop, Sophia turned to him. What's stopping you? From writing, I mean. Ethan thought for a moment. Fear, mostly. Fear that it won't be good enough. That I'll fail. She nodded, understanding. I feel that every time I pick up a paintbrush. But if you don't try, isn't that the biggest failure? Ethan looked at her, her words hitting deeper than he expected. Maybe, but it's not easy. It's not supposed to be, Sophia replied gently. Maybe we both need to stop waiting for it to be easy. In the weeks that followed, Ethan started visiting Sophia's cafe more often. They shared stories during her breaks, talking about their dreams and frustrations. One evening, Sophia brought one of her sketches to show Ethan. This is amazing, he said, genuinely impressed. Why aren't you showing this to galleries? Sophia shrugged. They keep rejecting me. Maybe I'm just not good enough. That's not true, Ethan said firmly. You have talent. You just need to keep trying. His words stuck with her. In return, Sophia pushed Ethan to start writing again. Even if it's just a page a day, she told him, you'll never know until you try. They made a pact to support each other. Ethan began setting aside time each evening to write, even if it meant cutting back on work hours. Sophia saved up for a small art exhibit, even if it meant taking on extra shifts at the cafe. They became each other's cheerleaders, encouraging each other to keep going. Sophia encouraged Ethan to quit his job and focus fully on writing. Her words gave Ethan the push he needed. He stood up to his boss and left the company for his personal projects. The confrontation wasn't easy, but it gave him a newfound sense of confidence. Meanwhile, Ethan helped Sophia apply for a small loan to cover her exhibit costs. She was terrified of taking the risk, but Ethan reminded her, sometimes you have to bet on yourself. The night of Sophia's art exhibit arrived. Ethan was the first one there, holding a bouquet of flowers. The small gallery was filled with her colorful, expressive paintings. Sophia stood nervously near the door, watching as people admired her work. You did it, Ethan said, handing her the flowers. I couldn't have done it without you, she replied with a smile. The exhibit was a success. A local art collector showed interest in one of her pieces, and more importantly, Sophia felt like she had taken a step toward her dream. Ethan, inspired by her courage, sent his manuscript to a small publisher. A few weeks later, he received an email. They wanted to publish his novel. Months passed, and their lives began to change. Sophia started selling more of her art online, gaining followers and commissions. Ethan's book was in the editing stages, and he felt a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. One evening, they walked through the city together. The streets were still busy, the noise still loud, but everything felt different. This city doesn't seem so bad anymore, Sophia said, looking up at the tall buildings. That's because we're not just surviving it, Ethan replied. We're living. Life was still messy, still unpredictable, but now it felt full of possibility.
Story 1. The Hidden Truth. Lily, a cute 17-year-old girl who was always curious about strange things in her life, but nothing prepared her for what happened during her school trip. Her class was visiting a famous historical destination outside the city. It was the kind of trip where students traveled to a stunning coastal town. They would explore the tourist attractions, do assigned tasks in groups, and take endless photos. Lily was so excited about the trip. She had a great time working with her friends. At the end of the day, as she stood near a street vendor, something caught her eye. A girl who looked just like her. Lily froze. The girl was across the street, chatting with a group of friends. She had the same wavy brown hair, the same way of standing, and even a similar laugh. For a second, Lily thought it was her reflection, but she wasn't standing in front of a mirror. By the time she snapped out of her thoughts and crossed the street, the girl was gone. Lily felt a mix of confusion. That evening, as soon as she got home, Lily asked her mom, Anna, "Mom, is it possible that I have a relative that looks just like me?" Her mom, Anna's face turned pale and her hands trembled slightly. "Why would you ask that?" she said, trying to sound calm but failing. "I saw a girl today who looks exactly like me," Lily said. "She could be my relative or—" Anna shook her head quickly and shouted, "No, Lily, you're imagining things. People can look similar. It doesn't mean anything." But Anna cut her off. "That's enough, Lily. Let it go. It's not possible." Lily could tell her mom was hiding something, but she didn't push. Lily couldn't stop thinking about the girl. The following weekend, she returned to the coastal town by herself. She walked through the streets, searching for any sign of the mysterious girl. Hours passed, but there was no trace of her. Near the end of the day, she passed a small flower shop. An elderly woman sitting on a bench outside the shop suddenly called out, "Emma, is that you?" Startled, Lily turned to the woman. "No, I'm not Emma," she said. The old woman squinted at her. "Oh, my dear, I thought you were Emma. You look so much like her." "Do you know Emma?" Lily asked eagerly. The woman nodded. "Yes, she lives somewhere nearby, but I can't remember exactly where. My memory isn't what it used to be. Maybe, was it the blue house? Or the green one? Oh, I'm sorry, my dear. I can't recall." Though disappointed, Lily decided not to give up. "That's okay. Thank you for telling me," she said, trying to hide her frustration. The old woman handed Lily a small parcel. "If you see Emma, give her this, will you?" Lily nodded, clutching the parcel tightly. As she left, she wandered through the neighborhood, hoping for a clue. But the streets all looked the same, and without clear directions, it was impossible to find Emma. Determined to uncover the truth, Lily returned every weekend to the village. She visited the old woman, Mrs. Clara, hoping for more details. Unfortunately, Mrs. Clara's memory often confused her. Some days, she said Emma lived near the park. Other days, she insisted it was near the bakery. One day, while Mrs. Clara rambled, she mentioned something new. "Emma's mother, Katie, used to visit me often. She was a sweet girl, but life wasn't kind to her." "Katie," Lily repeated, her heart racing. "Do you know where she is now?" Mrs. Clara shook her head. "I haven't seen her in years. She moved far away, I think. But Emma visits now and then. She loves flowers, you know. Maybe that's why I keep seeing you here." Lily held on to the little clues Mrs. Clara gave her. Slowly, she started connecting the dots. On one visit, she saw a photo album in Mrs. Clara's living room. Among the faded pictures was a photo of two toddlers who looked alike. "Who are these girls?" Lily asked. Mrs. Clara squinted at the photo. "That's Emma, and her sister. They were so close when they were little." Lily's hands trembled as she held the photo. It was the proof she needed. She wasn't imagining things. One Saturday afternoon, Lily sat quietly on Mrs. Clara's porch, holding a cup of tea. She had spent hours in the neighborhood again, hoping for a lead. Just as she was about to leave, a young woman walked through the gate. Lily's heart skipped a beat. It was her. Emma stood frozen, staring at Lily like she'd seen a ghost. Who are you?" she stammered. Lily stood too, her voice shaky. "I'm Lily. I think we're twins." Emma's face twisted in confusion. "Twins? What are you talking about? I don't have a sister." Mrs. Clara appeared behind them, her wrinkled face lighting up. "Ah, Emma, you're here. Look, this is... I don't know. Oh, you two look alike." Emma's hands clenched into fists. "What is this? Why does she look like me?" Lily tried to explain everything, The trip to the village, her search for answers, the photo of the two toddlers. Emma remained skeptical, her disbelief turning into frustration. "I don't know what kind of game this is," Emma said sharply. But Mrs. Clara called out, "Don't you want to know about your family?" Emma hesitated, her shoulders tense. "What do you mean, my family?" Mrs. Clara pointed to Lily. "She's your family, dear. She's the missing piece." Emma reluctantly sat down, her eyes darting between Lily and Mrs. Clara. "Tell me the truth, Lily." Emma sat down and listened to Lily. Lily then poured her heart out, recounting every step of her search. Emma listened in silence, her expression unreadable. When Lily finished, Emma shook her head. "This doesn't make sense," Emma said. "If this is true, why would my mom never tell me? Why would your mom hide it from you?" Lily had no answers, only more questions. After hours of talking, Emma agreed to visit Lily's mom with Lily. The next weekend, they boarded a train to the city. The journey was tense. Emma avoided eye contact, and Lily felt like she was walking on eggshells. When they arrived at Lily's apartment, Anna opened the door and froze. Her face went pale, and she clutched the door frame for support. "Mom," Lily said softly, "this is Emma." Anna's eyes filled with tears when she saw Emma. She tried to walk away from them. However, Lily held her hand and looked at her. "Please, Mom." Anna bursted in tears. She invited Emma to come inside. The air was heavy with tension as they sat around the living room. When they all sat down comfortably, Anna took a deep breath. "I owe you both the truth," she said. 14 years ago, Anna had been at a crowded fair with her daughter, who was only 3 at the time. Just in a blink of an eye, she lost sight of her child. Her husband was too disappointed about that, so he left her. Desperate and heartbroken, she searched for her daughter every day but couldn't find her. "One day, I saw you, Lily," Anna said, looking at her with tearful eyes. "You were crying, alone, and I tried to persuade myself you were my daughter. I truly believed you were her. I knew I was wrong for the whole time." Emma's jaw tightened. "So you just took her? What about my mom? What about me?" Anna broke down, sobbing. "I thought I was saving my child. I didn't mean to take you away from your family. When I realized the truth, I was too scared to admit what I'd done." The room was silent, except for Anna's quiet sobs. "Find me when you feel better," Emma said and left.